From Lagos, Nigeria, this is News Central. I'm Felicity Ezewike. The top stories tonight. President Bola Tinubu basked in his administration's progress while pledging continued growth as he marks midterm in office. Court of Appeal upholds tribunal judgment affirming the election of Monday Okpebholo as governor of Edo State. South African mother sentenced to life for trafficking 6-year-old daughter.
In business, Mauritania City Uta elected AFDB president as Akinwumi Adesina bows out after 10 years in office.
And in sports, curtain falls on the 22nd National Sport Festival in Edo State after 14 days of action.
Tonight begins now. Thank you for joining us. As President Bola Tinubu marks his midterm in office, he has reflected on the progress made in steering Nigeria towards socio-economic development. Despite inheriting a complex economic landscape, he noted that his administration has made strides in implementing policies aimed at long-term growth. In his statement, President Tinubu acknowledged the sacrifices made by Nigerians, particularly in the short term, as his administration's policies continue to shape the country's economic trajectory. While reaffirming his commitment to these policies, the president noted that he recognized their impact on the populace. Meanwhile, President Tinubu's statement has raised questions about the sustainability of his policies and their potential to drive meaningful change in Nigeria's socio-economic landscape. The All Progressive Congress APC has rated President Bola Tinubu high on performance as he marks his midpoint of his administration. Their party made this known at a press conference at its National Secretariat in Abuja to commemorate the midterm anniversary. APC National Publicity Secretary Felix Moka, who gave the address, revealed that the Tinubu administration has taken bold policy steps with far-reaching economic and security impacts. According to him, the government has broken away from a culture of inertia and is now steering the country on a road to prosperity.
All of the indications that we have referenced, and there's so many more we can't even reference because of time, are pointing clearly to a near future where we begin to see very remarkable, significant, and sustainable difference. There's no country of the world, none whatsoever, from the east to the west, that have made this transition from the doldrums where the citizens didn't have to endure this kind of momentary, transient, adverse impacts like we are enduring today. Which is why at the APC, we are full of gratitude.
Professor Ezielen Agbon is an expert on economic matters and the Chief Executive Officer at Energy Equilibrium. He joins me now from Dallas, Texas, to share his perspective on the economic policies of President Tinubu in the last 2 years. It's good to have you again tonight. Let's begin with your thoughts as to the impact of the president's economic policies, particularly the removal of fuel subsidies and the unification of foreign exchange policies on Nigeria's macroeconomic indicators such as inflation, GDP growth, and exchange rates over the last 2 years. Do you agree with him that he has done really well?
No. I think that if we go out of just throwing economic terms, which I will do, and look at it not from the perspective of the president or the perspective of his party. If we look at it from the perspective of Nigerian workers, Nigerian farmers, Nigerian students, Nigerian women, and the economy was bad when he came in, and the situation is worse. There is no excuse that can be given that any person who looks at the economic indicators, and I will point out some of them. From the perspective of the masses of Nigerian people, will say that our situation have gotten very, very bad. He said subsidy is gone, but we have seen an increase in the price of petrol. When we increase price of petrol and remove subsidy, like for instance, during the time of Abuja, when he increased price to 11 naira per liter, he first of all put an economic team together and said, what is really the true cost of a liter of petrol? They found out that a liter of petrol was 5 naira 58 cents. So Abuja set up the Petroleum Trust Fund. The saving from the increase in the price of petrol was now put in the Petroleum Trust Fund. Buhari was put as a chairman, and it was used for transportation, development, scholarship, building roads. Everybody saw the impact where the so-called savings from subsidy went. Now, the price of petrol has gone from 218, 195 per liter, for instance, in Abuja in May 2023 to 895 per liter today. The so-called savings in subsidy, nobody knows where they have gone. We have not seen them implemented in the repair of roads. We have not seen them for scholarship. So that policy of removing subsidy, of increasing PM's prices, have made food prices to go up. It has made the rent prices to go up, housing prices to go up, health prices to go up, and therefore the cost of living for the average Nigerian have increased by more than 300%. Meanwhile, wages have not increased at that level. Wages, on the other hand, have in fact decreased. In real wages have decreased. It was around $70 when he came in, when the minimum wage was 330,000 naira, and the exchange rate was about 461. Now the exchange rate is 1520, and the minimum wage is 70,000, which means the real value is about $40. Okay. So there have been almost 80% decrease in the real wages of Nigerian workers, while prices have increased by more than 100 to 200%.
All right, you seem to share, some perceptions I've seen spread around on the media from economic analysts say that there is some skepticism as to the praise singing that seemed to be coming along with the second year anniversary. I'm curious though, because I want to hear from your perspective. The former vice president of this country, who has several times attempted to be the president, speaks up on issues like this second anniversary. And something he said that is troubling to him is the scale of borrowing under the government since 2023. He says Nigeria's total public debt stood at approximately 49 trillion naira. And he went on to say in just 2 years, that figure has skyrocketed to 144 trillion. That's 150% increase, with more foreign loans now being requested, which could push the debt to 183 trillion. Talk to us about this. Is he accurate in his submission that Nigeria might be more into debt with this administration in the past 2 years?
Well, you see, when you're operating like that, purely economics, when you're operating in Naira, you have to remember that the exchange rate went from 450 to 1620. So you can't compare apple and oranges. For you to make the comparison, we have to operate in dollars, because this is a government that says we are going to liberalize everything. We're going to take new liberal policies of the IMF. So it was $36 billion, the debts before. In 2023, the debts were like at 38 billion. Now they are like 34 billion. So the debts have not, when you are looking at dollar, the debts have not really exploded. It's just because we are translating them to Naira that is now going to almost 3 times what it was before in 2023. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when you look at the figure in Naira, it looks like there have been a 300% increase in debt.
I mean, the ordinary Nigerian, the ordinary Nigerian like myself will be looking at the figures in Naira. And when you look at it at Naira, it increases. Or is it because, is there some politics here in terms of how the figures are presented? That's what I'm asking.
No, I understand. When we look at it, report it in Naira. But if we are going to be fair, for instance, and we are going to compare 2023 May to 2025 May, we need to do it with the same, on the same premise. If we say, for instance, that the GDP per capita in 2023 was $1,578 per capita, that is per person in Nigeria, and it has decreased in 2 years to 806 per capita in dollars, then nobody can say that is not a poor rating. The economic indicator shows that the economy has shrunk. If the economy GDP was formerly 364 billion in 2023, and it is now 188 billion, according to IMF, in dollars, the economy have almost reduced by 50%. It has shrunk. So the government, whether the government may try and rebase it and fudge the number and now tell us it's 400. But when we compare it on the same level as 2023, the economy is poorer. The inflation rate have increased, although the government have tried to rebase it to 2024 rather than 2009. But if we use a base of 2009 for inflation, inflation was 22% when it came in, 23%. It's now like 34, 35%. So when you are going to compare 2023 to 2025, you have to use the same thing. Unemployment was 33% in 2023. It's now about 37%. They changed the unemployment analysis and changed the base. So they now report unemployment of 4% or 5%. But if we are going to compare 2023 to 2025, it's best we put it on a uniform basis. We are dealing in Naira, and when we are looking at the figure, we are using the same basis to compare both of them.
Okay, why there is some disparity? What I'm getting from you is that why there is some disparity, the bottom line is it's not El Dorado yet, and there is some unclear exaggeration as to how far the economy has come.
Yes. What I'm saying is that for the poor man, the economy is poorer. And this thing of saying be patient, there's a light in the tunnel, not for the average Nigerian. Because the fact is that not all policies that were done by the government was a good reform.
I'm afraid we have to leave it there for now. I'm told that's all the time we have. Thank you, as always, for sharing some insight. Tonight returns after this short break. Do stay with us. As President Bola Tinubu marks his midterm in office, he has reflected on the progress made in steering Nigeria towards socio-economic development. Now, despite inheriting a complex economic landscape, he noted that his administration has made strides in implementing policies aimed at long-term growth. In his statement, the president acknowledged the sacrifices made by Nigerians, particularly in the short term, as his administration's policies continue to shape the country's economic trajectory. While reaffirming his commitment to these policies, the president noted that he recognized their impact on the populace. Meanwhile, the president's statement has raised questions about the sustainability of his policies and their potential to drive meaningful change in Nigeria's socio-economic landscape. To talk about this, we're joined by Senior Special Assistant to the President on New Media, Otega Ogra, for his take on the President's policies and its impact on Nigerians in the last 2 years. Thank you for joining us. I mean, you are with the team, so you might have some inside knowledge to share with us. It seems the consensus within the administration is that the President has done really well. So let's not look at that. Let's look at your thoughts on some of the most significant challenges facing President Tinubu's administrations in terms of its policies that it has put forward.
Thank you very much. Like the President said in his statement today, the journey is not over yet, but the direction is very, very clear. And so is the resolve of Mr. President and his team, to see us through the worst. Like he also alluded to in his statement this morning, we were faced with a very interesting challenge upon taking office, which was the devil and the deep blue sea. It was either, we, for the first time in our life as a nation, fixed long-term solutions, we provided long-term solutions to long-term problems, or we were faced with, runaway inflation, a crippling debt crisis, which had already seen us spending 98%, almost 100% of every naira that we earned as a country on debt servicing, and which is now reduced to 40%. So for me, the most important thing is the surgery has been done. It's not been easy. It's not been easy for Nigerians. It's not been a smooth ride. But I mean, we are gladdened by the numbers that we are seeing. I was listening to the last speaker speak, and he said, when I was talking about the debt crisis and everything, and they also mentioned Nigeria's GDP. In actual fact, Nigeria's GDP, by purchasing power parity, which is a very concise and more accurate representation of the purchasing power of your naira, despite the inflation rates, the FX rates and inflation, is at the highest it's ever been in the last 2 decades of our life as a nation. I think it's about $1,400 now, the GDP PPP. What that means is your naira can buy 3 times what it will buy, or the same income will buy in any other country of the world, which is something significant for us. So there's still a long way to go. We're looking at increasing the growth rates over the next few years. We're looking at further investments in infrastructure, further investments in healthcare, agriculture, technology, even security and defense, and a whole lot of other areas. And I believe that with the continued support of Nigerians, which we have enjoyed so far, the sky's the limit for Nigeria and this administration.
All right, you are the, as I say, on new media, so I guess this question is appropriate to ask. If you go on social media, you go do a street vox pop, there seems to be an overwhelming concern about the hardship and the suffering that some of these policies from the presidency has inflicted on the people. But from your angle, you seem to be more of hope and optimism. Is there a disconnect here that bothers you? If yes, what will be done about addressing it?
So I'll be the first to say the complaints of Nigerians or a section of Nigerians are valid. But at the same time, you need to understand, you cannot put a bandage on an open sore or a festering sore whose roots is deeper than the surface. That was the hard decision that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu had to take. And, His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is probably the only Nigerian politician living that has the capacity to make the kind of hard decisions that we have taken, because they are very necessary for the economy and for Nigerians in general, because that's the path to a sustainable future. That's the path to sustainable prosperity. Coming to feedback of people and everything, by virtue of my role, I sit down and I get a lot of data every single day from my hundreds of millions of posts, tweets, websites, blogs, and everything. And we analyze this data on a real-time basis. Coming into office, there was a huge trust deficit between the government and the people, which was as high as, the trust deficit was high as 80%. In the past 2 years, that trust deficit has dropped significantly to about 56%. And why? It's simply because you have a lot more Nigerians who are willing to, they've been able to see that the president is truthful, is someone who is committed to what he has planned to do, and they are able to see the results of some of these actions. In my role, I would choose not to, rely on, feelings, because there's data, they had data which we can see and we can review. Secondly, the president has shown that he's a good listener and is open to constructive criticism. And we've seen where he has, made policies for Nigerians that either the National Assembly or the general public, have raised one or two issues, and we've gone back to the drawing board, to rework these policies. Case in point, the students' loan.
I'm sorry to interject. We're time pressed, and I needed to ask your thoughts on the government's efforts towards tackling corruption across sectors in Nigeria. Also, how do you perceive the effort to promote transparency and accountability? You said yourself that the president is open to constructive criticism, but is that something that is actually being put in practice? When people make recommendations, there is a review.
Yeah, on the case of corruption, this government is very, very strong on corruption. Gone are the days when we only fought corruption on a remedial basis. Today, we are fixing the systems. We are creating, we're bringing in automation to a lot of governments, the government treasuries, to a lot of government work and everything. And that is reducing, room for corruption. If you do that at the source, then the chances that someone in government, someone will be able to co-opt another person to be corrupt, it's greatly reduced. Secondly, I'm sure you can see the gains that the EFCC and the ICPC and other anti-corruption agencies have made in terms of pursuing cases of corruption that they have, and not just at the political level alone, even amongst the general populace. And they're making gains there, and we are equipping them. We are making sure that they can do their job better with little to no interference from government. Another area we're fighting corruption is by strengthening regulatory agencies across board. Today, you hardly hear of any regulatory agency in Nigeria, having unnecessary executive interference. That is one of the ways by which we strengthen our institutions to ensure that even beyond the lifetime of this administration, the systems are able to fight corruption in themselves. So in the case of corruption, I think that's how much I would say. But generally speaking, the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, what we have done so far for Nigerians is to ensure that whatever we're putting in place, whatever we're doing is backed by law, it's guided by, by the proper regulations and proper acts of the National Assembly. And Nigerians can be so sure that even after the tenure of Mr. President, we would be able to say as a country that, yes, we have a strong foundation upon which to build in Nigeria we can all be proud of.
I tell you, I want you to speak. You said, the government is responsive to constructive criticism. There's been a lot of controversy around the student loan initiated by this administration. As recent as about a month ago, we had conversations here. What has been the criticism of the student loan, as laudable as it may seem, and what do you think has been done to address those concerns to keep longevity, as you hope to, after the administration we continue to enjoy the student loan?
So, so far, I think the student loan, NEL Fund in particular, they've done pretty well. And I'm going to give credit to Mr. Sawyer and his team. They've done excellently well. Most of the entire process for the student loan, which we have about 500,000 Nigerian students currently on and currently enjoying, most of the transactions there are automated, right from the point of your registration up to the point where monies are disbursed directly to your school, and or money is your upkeep allowance is disbursed directly to your own personal account. Yes, we have seen a couple of complaints where some students came online to say, hey, they think that some schools have been charging them a lot more by putting certain other fees, which would have been optional, into the school fees. But I'm sure we've listened quite a number of times to the CEO of the NEL Fund speak about this quite some time in the past 3-4 weeks. And it is very clear that that has been, a meeting was called between the schools, the Ministry of Education and the NEL Fund, and they've been able to, fully clarify what should be put as part of students' school fees and the rest. But I must say I'm pretty impressed coming from the private sector. This is something that, even though I'm in government, I never gave it as much, chance in terms of the systems and processes working. But I am thoroughly impressed at the way it's gone, and I think we should give them all the support. Nigerians have to keep giving them all the support that we can give them. And one thing that is most instructive is Mr. President is very keen on bequeathing a credit economy to Nigerians. And one of the ways by which we start to teach our young people how to manage credit, how to manage their credit scores, this is aside Credit Corps and the Nigerian Credit Guarantee Company, is through the students' loan, because now you're teaching young people to be able to responsibly manage their finances. You leave school, you get 2 years, a 1 or 2 year moratorium, or until you get a job before you start to pay back. That gives everyone, that's leeway to be able to go to school without the fear of paying school fees or anything. And it gives parents additional disposable income, to put back in the economy, which is why we're seeing volumes increase for FMCG companies. We're seeing volumes increase for other manufacturers and people within the country.
Listening to you, it is definitely a laudable project, but of course the issues around it, the concerns that are being raised need stronger attention. Thank you very much for speaking with us.
Attention that they need. Thank you very much.
Still ahead, families cry out for justice following the killing of 2 Nigerians, Adeyemi Ismaila and Taiwo Raji, in South Africa. We'll tell you more when we come back. Glad you're still with us. Over the last 2 years, President Bola Tinubu's administration has faced persistent security challenges, including terrorism, banditry, kidnapping, and header-farmer conflicts. Despite efforts to address these issues, insecurity remains a significant concern. The government has reported some success, particularly in the northwest, where the military has restored order and reduced threats. However, opposition parties and human rights organizations have criticized the administration for failing to effectively tackle insecurity. Joining me now on this discussion is Brigadier General Sani Usman, a former Army spokesperson. Thank you very much for speaking with us. It's been 2 years of this administration. Give us a ballpark view of their efforts and what the reality is today.
Good evening, and thank you for having me on your program. I would rather say the security challenges in the country remain of great concern simply because the desired success is not commensurate to the expectations of most Nigerians. But that does not mean that substantial progress has not been made. Quite contrary to it, a lot of progress has been made. What remains actually is the fact that there are other gaps that need to be nipped so that we can be able to have the progress that we require. What I am trying to say here is that the security challenges, bulk of the approach is more or less like reactionary as against preemptive. And this stems from the simple fact that when you are dealing with security challenges of this magnitude, you need to approach it with a kind of whole society approach, every component of Nigerian society. And you have just rightly said, there are divergent views in, among Nigerians. The government is saying this, whereas opposition and other, civil society groups are saying the other. I think the most important thing is the average Nigerian. Is he fully secured? If the answer is yes, then so be it. But if he or she is not, or there is no sense, because there are two things, sense of feeling secure and being secure. So both of them have to go hand in glove with each other. So basically that is it. So it's more or less like a work in progress. If you notice in the southwest, northwest, substantial progress has been made. For instance, in the days or years past, maybe the road from Kaduna to Abuja was more or less like no-go area, but now people fly it even in the night. So that is an indicator that at least there is an improvement. And of course, the persistent attacks that we used to have in some parts of the Northwest are no longer there. Of course, you have instances, particularly in the North Central. So that is telling you something that fundamentally there are still things that need to be done, or there are still issues that need to be addressed. And to a large extent, this will not be if you are working at cross purposes with each other. That means we need to mobilize the whole society to have a fair understanding that security in this country is a collective responsibility, and there is a limit to which the government or the security agencies can perform without the cooperation of an average citizen. And that requires sensitization so that people will understand that a problem in Katsina State, for instance, has a corresponding effect on the people in Ebonyi State or even Lagos State. And the earlier we understand this, the better. So let us face security challenges devoid of extraneous variables, so that everybody will be on the same page with each other, so that we can assist the security agencies. Instead of reacting, they will be preempting the security challenges. And most importantly, again, if you look at it, anytime you have security challenge, is the question of either good or bad governance. There is no two ways about it. To what extent are you addressing the root causes of some of the security challenges? Some of them, they are local in nature, that before you allow them to escalate, you can be able to deal with them. The starting point is...
Brigadier General, we're very pressed for time, so I just want you to speak on a specific subject in 40 seconds if you can. Talk to us about equipping our military officials better.
Of course, the government has been doing the best it could, and there is substantial progress in terms of logistics and equipping of the military. And of course, like everything else, you may not have the required thing that you need, but I think they need more, and the government has indicated intention of adding more to them. And you have seen so many platforms have been acquired. So basically, it is not just the issue of equipment, but you need the support of the society, because these things are very, very important. That is why even in war, an offense against morale is a capital offense. So there is no way you can be working across purposes with each other when you are facing an existential threat that will affect each and every one of us.
All right, sir. Thank you so much for speaking with us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, too.
Let's go on now and tell you that the governor of Edo State has hailed the ruling of the Court of Appeal affirming his election victory, describing it as a victory for the people of Edo State. The judgment, delivered today, Thursday, in Abuja, saw a three-member panel of justices dismiss the petition filed by Asue Ighodalo, the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in the September 21, 2024 governorship election. The appellate court upheld the earlier decision of the election tribunal, which had ruled in favor of Governor Okpebholo. Reacting to the judgment in Benin City, Governor Okpebholo praised the judiciary for its professionalism and integrity.
To embrace this judgment, and let's come together as one family to develop Edo. That's what we stand for. But I will not stop without congratulating my principal, the executive governor of Edo State, that's Senator Monday Okpebholo, and the amazing people of Edo who voted for us. Congratulations to all of you, and God bless you all.
What they were saying. However, we would request that our members stay calm. We will get the CTC. The lawyers will advise. The lawyers will go through it. We will go through it, and nothing stops us from heading to the Supreme Court. And there are so many grounds for the appeal to the Supreme Court. So finally, we wish to tell our members, let the hope keep. We are appealing the judgment.
Outside Nigeria, Families of two Nigerians murdered in South Africa are crying out for justice after the suspected killer of their husbands was granted bail, and the hopes of justice seems to be fading too quickly. News Central's Bongani Sisiba has the latest.
I heard that my father passed on. I was very angry. I thought and said, who is this person who killed my father? I cried very much and I miss my father so much. My father was my best friend. He used to take care of our family. And
April the 20th, a day Nolutando Raji and her family will live to remember. That night, death came like a thief in the dark. It stole her father away, Taiwo Raji, along with his friend Adeyemi Ismaila, a father of two, gunned down for a crime they say they did not commit. Every day, these men sat outside this hotel selling goods to provide for their families, unaware that their lives would be cut short.
I was sleeping because it was late, and then suddenly I heard a gunshot many times. First of all, it was 3 shots, and then after a few minutes, it was several shots. And then in a few minutes, I heard a knock on my door. When I opened, it was my neighbor. Then they passed the message that to me, there's people who were shot in front of Capital Inn Hotel, and Papa Juna is also there, which is Adeyemi Akiwumi.
Now these widows seek justice, but they say the courts are failing them. The killer is out on bail, enjoying life as if nothing happened, while they are left to pick up the pieces.
The offender, the killer, he's outside enjoying his life outside with his own children. As we don't have husband, we don't have father of our children. People, the person who can provide for my children is no more. I'm talking for my own side. The man who used to go out there to hustle a bread for my children, who's going to provide that bread for my kids now?
And okay, to our government, what does our government do about it? To me, it seems like they're giving people that they can kill as much as they want because they won't be arrested.
The fight for justice continues, but the scars and the pain will remain. In Pretoria for News Central, Bongani Sisiba.
Staying in South Africa, a mother and 2 accomplices have been sentenced to life in prison for kidnapping and trafficking her 6-year-old daughter. On Thursday, a South African court handed down life sentences to Jacqueline Kelly Smith, her boyfriend, and a mutual friend after they were found guilty of kidnapping and selling 6-year-old Jocelyn Smith. The young girl went missing in February last year from her home in Saldanha Bay, a quiet fishing town north of Cape Town. Despite months of nationwide searches and public appeals, Jocelyn is yet to be found. Morning Talk, sports and entertainment are next when we return from this short break. Do stay with us. Perpetua joins me now for business update. Perpetua, what are we looking at?
Well, there's a lot to talk about, but we will get to all of that when we come back from this time out. Stay with us. Sidi Ouattara of Mauritania has been elected as the 9th president of the African Development Bank, securing 76.18% of the vote after 3 rounds. Ouattara beat contenders from Zambia, Senegal, South Africa and Chad. Backed by strong Arab League support and Mauritania's diplomatic clout, Ouattara brings experience from leading the Arab Bank for Economic Development in Africa and serving as Mauritania's economy minister. He formally takes office on September 1, aiming to reform Africa's financial systems, harness demographics, and boost industrialization. Ouattara replaces Nigeria's Akinwumi Adesina, under whom the AFDB expanded capital and operations, but now faces pressure to deepen its impact. And in Nigeria, the federal government, through the midstream and downstream gas infrastructure project, has signed joint venture agreements with 10 new equity partners to boost Nigeria's gas infrastructure and expand compressed natural gas use nationwide. Speaking in Abuja, Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Okpebholo, hailed the move as a key step toward energy security, industrial growth, and sustainable development. The MDGIF has supported 6 gas firms so far, with the new partnerships funding projects across Nigeria's 6 geopolitical zones. These include 6 gas processing plants, 2 using flare gas to reduce pollution, 3 CNG refueling stations, and an LPG storage facility to ease supply issues. To stock markets now, bearish sentiments resurfaced in the Nigerian equities market as sell pressures on Seplat, 10% actually, caused the benchmark index to decline, and consequently the month-to-date and year-to-date returns moderated to 5.7% and 8.6% respectively. Let's take a look at that. We're still at the 111,000 mark, but this time it is 111,818.08. It's down 8 basis points. Market capitalization is still at 70 trillion naira, so you have 70.51 trillion naira. And now to sector performance. Sector performance was mixed. Oil and gas and insurance recorded declines. Consumer goods and banking posted gains. Meanwhile, industrial goods remained flat. Now let's take a look at this. We begin with the banking sector. It's up 30 basis points. You might want to thank Fidelity Bank for that. That drove gains in that sector. And then you have the insurance down 17 basis points. You have the oil and gas down 5.01 basis points. That's a big one, 5.01% actually. It's a very big one, and that of course can be attributed to Seplat, which lost 551 naira off its price today. And you also have Wando that also lost some percent, about 2.04%. So that contributed to what we are seeing, this huge decline in the oil and gas sector. Now for consumer goods, you've got it up 94 basis points. And of course, it has continued this upward momentum, supported by Honey Flour, NNFM, Presco, and international breweries. And finally, we also have industrial goods, which I already told you, closed flat. And that's business tonight. I am Perpetua Fasami Peter. Tonight continues.
Sports news is next. Favor is here. Favor, over to you.
All right, a lot of things happening in the world of sport, especially with the climax of the National Sport Festival after this timeout. After 2 weeks of intense sporting competition, the 22nd National Sport Festival was officially ended today with a closing ceremony at the FKO Abiola Sports Complex in Abeokuta. The event drew massive crowds that showcased Ogun State as a growing sports hub. The festival was characterized by record-breaking performances, strong fan support across venues, and surprise performances by the invited junior athletes. Now, one of the highlights was the retirement of Olympic silver medalist and 14-time African wrestling champion Blessing Oborodudu after a 19-year career that began where it all started at the 2006 Sports Festival, also held in Ogun State. The closing ceremony featured cultural performances as well as a symbolic handover to Enugu State, host of the 2026 Games. At the end of the action, Delta State topped the medals table for the 5th consecutive time with 122 gold medals. Bayelsa State finished second with 90 gold medals, just ahead of host Ogun State, who had 89 gold medals.
Nigeria is committed to the future of the Nigerian sports and the Nigerian child. Every sprint and every cheer that echoed across this festival. To the whole state, I offer gratitude and admiration. You provided an ambience, a proper ambience, a secure and welcoming environment for this great conveyance of talents. Your hospitality has been the testament of the belief in what sports can do for a people and a nation.
Meanwhile, Enugu State has pledged to deliver a bigger and better National Sport Festival in 2026, surpassing the 2024 edition held in Ogun State. Speaking during a media briefing at the Gateway Games in Abeokuta, Enugu State Sports Commissioner Lloyd Ike Ekweremadu said the Coal City Games will raise the standard set by Ogun State. He assured that the Peter Mba-led administration is committed to hosting a world-class festival with upgraded facilities and robust security. According to him, Enugu boasts the highest number of security cameras in Africa and is ready to welcome athletes, officials, journalists, and fans. Ekweremadu also highlighted cultural and tourism opportunities planned for the event. And now to football. Super Falcons of Nigeria head coach Justin Madugu has declared that his team would not hold back when they take on Cameroon's indomitable Lionesses in 2 friendly matches at the Remo Star Stadium in Ikenne on Saturday and at the MKO Abiola Sports Complex at Abeokuta on Tuesday. Madugu insisted that the players understand the nature and size of the rivalry between Nigeria and Cameroon on the field of play and will approach the game with the seriousness they deserve. Nigeria and Cameroon share a fierce rivalry, having clashed in crucial Olympic and WAFCON fixtures. Surprisingly, the Lionesses did not qualify for this year's tournament. Nigeria are drawn in Group B of WAFCON alongside Tunisia, Algeria, Botswana as they chase a 10th continental title. And that wraps it up on Sports Update. And Favor Itua tonight continues with Felicity.
Entertainment updates now with Edo. Edo, what are we looking at?
Well, it seems the federal government is not backing down on this abuse of Naira situation. And yes, a TikToker has been arrested and has been sent to prison. But I'll give you all the details right now. Like a federal high court in Kano has sentenced popular TikToker Moja Kunya to 6 months in prison for Naira abuse after she was found guilty of spraying Naira notes at a hotel, violating the Central Bank of Nigeria Act, CBN Act. Initially arrested in January 2025 and granted bail, Kunya later absconded but was rearrested by the EFCC operatives in March. She pleaded guilty to the amended 1-count charge during her arraignment on May 20th, 2025, leading to her conviction. Well, Felicity, I think it's high time we just agree that we should not just spray money again.
It's tricky. We live in a society where some get a slap on the wrist and others get the full bat of the law. It just doesn't add up, really. It's this same accusation that we had some celebrities get a fine, a warning, and some of them get private calls to visit. That's what they come out to tell us on social media. And then you see one, of course, there's always a scapegoat. It's just unfortunate, really, in my view.
It's quite unfortunate.
Yes, it's against the law, but it's something that has been on for a very long time. It's just, well, like you said, people should learn to toe the line that is right.
Hopefully, we would get to that point where we would stop spraying money, I think.
I don't think we'll get to that point. They'll just do it in the way that is within the law.
Okay. Well, that's all we have in entertainment tonight, then.
And that's the news tonight. But before we go, here's a quick reminder of our top stories. President Bola Tinubu basked in his administration's progress while pledging continued growth as he marks midterm in office. Court of Appeal upholds tribunal judgment affirming election of Monday Okpebholo as governor of Edo State. South African mother has been sentenced to life for trafficking her 6-year-old daughter. And in business, we brought you the news that Mauritania's Sidi Ould Tah has been elected AFDB president as Akinwumi Adesina bows out after 10 years in office. We'd love to hear from you. Please send your eyewitness reports. The number showing now on your screen. You can follow us on all socials to do that as well at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422. On GoTV, we're on 23, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and on YouTube. Thank you for your time. Have a good night.